Hey. Um. Hmm. I'd like to pretend that I have something really nice to say or anything worthwhile. But the only thing I have to say is that um tonight's a bit strange for me. Um. Normally, when I drink, I always want to drink more. And after I drink more, I always want to drink more. But I've reached what I feel would be like a plateau, maybe. I think there's other things that I would like to experience rather than more alcohol, which is nice to, I guess, feel. Um, the issue is these are still things that I'm only dealing with right now, like literally right now. I'm not normally whenever I feel like I don't want to drink. These are short-lived feelings, so I guess I decided I would record this experience right now and talk about in some of my other endeavors lately. I've chosen to try to look at my childhood life more and understand that I never cried a lot, which sounds kind of, I guess it's, people will call it not strong, or they would call, they would say that maybe I'm like a pussy, especially now, saying that, you're going to try and cry now. And I guess being honest, yeah, if that's what it means, I don't care. I'm trying to figure out where those feelings really reside and where I reside because things affect me, and a lot of my life has been trying to be dishonest about what affects me, which is really unfortunate. Um, I spent a lot of my life trying to deny what affected me, and I would say that I was above what affected me in certain ways. And eventually it got distorted to the point where I tried projecting onto the world what I wanted to see within myself. And I never realized that for 8 years. So what happened was initially I started seeing these wrongdoings, these injustices, these small things where people were being mistreated, where they weren't able to feel about like proper about themselves. And instead of saying, "Well, I can overcome that," I chose to say, "It's awful that the world exists this way." And so I don't know if I'm not going to say that this is wrong, but what I'm going to say is that this is a path that I led myself down. And that path made me feel like um I well, it wasn't that I was wrong. It's just that path made me feel like the world was wrong. And even though I was trying to achieve a lot of my own successes and trying to search for myself, I had this inner turmoil where I figured the world was very wrong and very capable of stopping progression. And so what happened was is anytime I ever achieved what I felt was success, I would I would judge myself really hard, or I would say that success wasn't for me because I had never experienced it before. As if saying that I'm incapable of getting over anything, which obviously is very wrong. Um, this inability to believe in myself clearly is not the greatest thing, not the best thing to have as a person. especially because I know that I've overcome a lot of obstacles. And when I talk to people, I've apparently been there, and I've been able to help a couple people, which is nice. It's just problematic because you realize, or I feel, right? Like, if I can help others, why can't I help myself? And that's been the journey, I guess. Being honest and questioning again about what it is I want from myself. When I was younger, I used to be very honest and say that I had no idea. And that's what led me to being curious. And I let a part of that curiosity I let it take over me and say that curiosity was worth nothing because look at where I'd ended up at one point. And this is when I was working at McDonald's. I kind of let my ego die, but on my own terms in a gross way, not in a good way. People hear about letting your ego die, and it's usually a positive experience where you can grow back from it instantly. But no, this was like I let every part of myself go for a long time, and during that period, I let myself go to the point where I built myself into a shadow of what I once was, and now I have to rebuild myself again, and I have to even fight what I've become, which is lame, to say the least. It's not a nice feeling knowing that your own ignorance has led you to a place where you've solidified so many paths for yourself, whether mentally or in the real life, that now there's only a very narrow path out, and you have to take it, and it might be very uncomfortable. Where you might have been able to walk an easier path, you led your own self. I led my own self into a very disruptive and dark path. Because I figured I knew myself so good. And unfortunately, it was the biggest lie that I told myself for a long, long time. It's better to understand, though, that maybe you have been lying. I could be where I was at the beginning of this journey, right? Still. Because there are people that exist that way. And I could say that even though I'm not correct entirely, one of the truths that I have to myself is the ability that at least I take more of a look at myself. I take more of this observation, more in, you know? And I realize how much of a moron I am. And it hurts on a lot of levels to understand how willing you are to hurt yourself. Being very honest. There are people, I'm a people that are very willing to just hurt themselves over and over again, suffer a lot of experience. Suffer. They're just willing to suffer because that's an unfortunate thing that they're used to, and they don't know how to get out of that. I'm unfortunately in that well. Now, one of the nice things about being in that well means that I can see the suffering within others, which is nice because I can see the struggle within anybody that I talk to, whether they come at me aggressively or not. I understand it's their own internal struggle that causes that. But there's a point of me that I need to learn to let go. I can't hold on to this aggression or this lack of life within me forever. And I don't think anybody should. You know? It's easy to say that we need to be something entirely, very entirely. But the truth is, we just need to exist. And we need to be whatever we can exist as. It's not about forcing ourselves to be a thing. It's about existing amongst each other and realizing that everybody needs to do that. I don't know. I don't know if any of this is correct at this point. I don't know if I've been ranting too long, but I figure last thing I'm going to say is I don't know, man. I love you all. I don't know any of you. And I hope to know all of you. Remain cool.